one of the ways that we can mitigate bias, I want to make a point here. I'm not advocating for anybody to try and erase their bias or eliminate their bias. It's not possible. So I said to be biased is to be human. So that means you cannot eliminate your bias. If you do, you become a robot, right? So we're not trying to eliminate bias. What we're trying to do is have awareness about what our biases are and then try and mitigate them when they're have negative impacts.
Yes.
So awareness is key, right? So just understanding that you have a bias is critically important.
Yes.
We all do. Right. And what I advise people when I talk to different teams about this is in a safe space with somebody who you know and you trust, ask them, why do I like this person so much? Why do I feel connected to this person? It's a bias. It's your bias.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
That's a bias. Similarly, why don't I like this person?
Yeah.
I don't want this person on my team.
They're too cute.
I don't feel a certain way. Anytime you have a feeling, that feeling, that gut feeling is typically your bias telling you it's at work, right?
Bias vis-a-vis insecurity. How does that come in? Because a lot of people have outlined to me in the past that they feel particular bias that has been, towards them is as a result of insecurity. So-and-so is just insecure. But I see now when we're having this conversation, it may not be necessarily insecurity. Maybe it's something deeper rooted, or it's simply a form of bias that we haven't outlined.
And this is why listening comes in, because it's neat to jump to that conclusion. It's very shallow, right? So the opportunity is to spend some time talking to that person and understanding a bit about who they are. And that's how you build empathy.
Yes.
Right? You build empathy by having conversations with people and also being vulnerable, admitting where you have a bias, right? Somebody who's saying, oh, they're just jealous, ask that person what their bias is. They'll find it very difficult to tell you, because they won't want to admit it, right? But that kind of person, they want to keep that to their chest. At the end of the day, we all have our biases and we don't want to admit them because they're a bit embarrassing. We're supposed to be, with it, learn it. We're supposed to be objective. You don't want to admit that when you see somebody dressed a certain way or when you hear a certain name, exactly, you just have a response to it. And that response might lead that person to have less of an opportunity than somebody else. The way bias shows up in the workplace on a kind of regular basis is by something we call these micro behaviors, right? Micro affirmations and micro inequities.
Yes.
So, for example, eye contact, right? If I'm having a conversation with you and I just don't like you, I just won't look at you. I'll look everywhere but you. And then how do you feel if you're talking to me and I'm not giving you the respect of eye contact? You feel devalued.
Yeah.
You feel diminished. That's how it happens. And it's small. And you may not even be able to tell your colleague that's how I felt because it was such a small thing. But that is the power of those micro behaviors in the workplace. Shake somebody's hand. You don't give them a firm shake. You're just reluctant, right? And so those types of things show up all the time in workplaces. You walk into your boss's office for a meeting and they don't look at you. They are on the phone. They're distracted. If you really respect somebody, you give them time and you show them that you respect them. Right. And so they're small things and it's hard to talk about them. I always tell people to focus on micro affirmations as well. If I like you, you're going to know it. Right.
Yes.
Because I'm going to look at you and I'm going to smile at you and I'm going to say, come over. Let's be friends and let me do something for you. Right. And you will just think, I'm just a great person. But actually, it's because something about you, I'm attracted to that. And so I want to bring you into my ecosystem. But you don't realize it's a bias that I have. You just think you're a great person. Actually, I'm just acting out on my bias. And that's, again, my micro affirmation is I'm affirming you by looking at you, by saying nice things about you. That's how it shows up in the workplace. And so when we can call these things out and talk about them, that's where the power is. It's difficult to do, but that's where the opportunity is. In small groups with people you trust.